Hello everyone, my name is Cyril Kaplan, and today I would like to talk about my dissertation research, which targets the topic of EEG neurofeedback. In this presentation, I will speak about research in progress. As I'm working on my dissertation, I will explain the concept and the steps I already did, the data I collected and analyzed, and as well, I will kind of give you an outline of what I'm planning to do in the near future. So let's start with the name of my dissertation, which is short-term EEG neurofeedback training and its psychological context. I will explain each concept from this name first. So for those that are not familiar with EEG neurofeedback, it would be clearer to follow my presentation. So maybe you've heard the concept, the term biofeedback, biological feedback. It was coined in the 60s by Glenn Miller, and basically the biofeedback consists in making unconscious information from your own body conscious. So basically, your heart rate is something you normally not aware of. But the biofeedback works that it takes the heart rate and maybe it shows it to you, or it feeds it back to you in some way. So this way it makes the what unconscious process conscious, so you can be aware of it. The case of the EEG neurofeedback, which is a form of biofeedback, we are feeding back to a person their EEG signal, the signal from the brain, which is usually recorded using some kind of EEG device, which can be as simple as that one with two electrodes, which you kind of put on your forehead and your ear, or it can be more complex, which is as well more usual, maybe like this device, which uses electrodes to put on a specific parts of the brain. So this way you acquire the EEG signal, the signal from the brain, which usually is divided using fast Fourier transform to see if what energy have specific frequency from the signal. The slowest signal, delta waves, you can see here, it's common during the sleep. On the contrary, beta waves, fast waves with higher frequencies are common during awake state when you focused or attend. Okay, so that's what we work with in the EEG neurofeedback. So you can see here on this picture that a person gets electrodes attached to monitor the electric signal from the brain. And the electric signal from the brain is transferred in real time into picture and sound, or either modality of those. And you notice that I'm talking, my dissertation topic is about the short-term neurofeedback training. So what do I mean by short-term? Usually, the EEG neurofeedback training is being used as a form of therapy or treatment. If you want to use it as therapy or treatment, maybe for attention deficit disorder or something similar, or epilepsy, you have to go through many sessions of this neurofeedback, spanning over the months or years. And the goal of it, of the long-term neurofeedback, is elevation of specific symptoms, maybe the attention deficit or your headaches. So that's for the long-term neurofeedback. It's somehow clinical, and it's being used as a form of therapy or treatment, like a pill. I'm more interested in the concept of short-term neurofeedback, which is kind of heavily under-researched. In these settings, you would have to undergo only several sessions in the span of days or weeks. So maybe you visit a psychologist, and as a form of like a self-growth, so psychohygiene, you would experiment playing some neurofeedback games. This way you would get feedback about the state of your brainwaves, and you could maybe understand something better about yourself. So that's what I'm interested in the EEG, in the sphere of EEG neurofeedback. And my aim is to put together a testable theory of short-term neurofeedback, because most of the research in the neurofeedback area kind of concentrates on effects of the long-term effects of neurofeedback, specifically on elevation of some symptoms. And many aspects of neurofeedback are kind of not understood at all. Maybe how the different games influence the outcomes of neurofeedback, or if a person is really able to interact with the system, or many authors just think it's some form of placebo, and the results are inconclusive. My opinion and my aim here is, if we concentrate heavily on the short-term neurofeedback, if people are able to learn to control and modify the electric activity of the brain according to a feedback game in a, let's say, 3-5 sessions, we can assume that it might be effective in the span of like 40 or 60 sessions as a form of treatment for ADHD or autism. So I propose more concentration on short-term neurofeedback, on just what effects it has in few sessions. So I had to reconceptualize as well a little, because I'm concentrating on short-term neurofeedback. I don't expect there will be any like significant effects on people like in the terms of their health. So I'm more interested in the neurofeedback as experience or as a game. Basically, I would just like conceptualize it. It is a game which you control with your brainwaves. So my first question was, is it really a game? Do the people that I will ask to play it, will they perceive it as a game, or it's just something like really random? So what I did first was I had to develop my research instrument, because I didn't find any ready biofeedback system that would allow me to create the games I needed or I wanted to explore. I decided to work purely with acoustic sonic feedback. So people in my experiments, they come, they get headphones and EEG, and they are asked to play sound games. Here you have a table of 4 games I used. Pitch, tone, low. There you ask to make the tone pitch low. So you hear a tone which goes up, and you ask to keep it down. Again. Make more tones. This one starts with nothing, and you are asked to make a full white chord of 9 tones, which again, like gradually as your EEG goes up or down, disappears or appears again. Arpeggiator, there you add the tone to a sequence, and noise game, there you ask to silence the noise. There is a noise, and you are asked to make it lower, and the goal is the silence. So you can see each game reacts to a brain signal from a different place on a skull. So this one for C4, this one for a frontal right hemisphere. So you see this is a head. Here is a nose, ears, and this is like a customary 10-20 system to indicate on which part of the brain you are recording. So this is the overview of my research design, and I'm running short on the time, so I just tell you that I kind of already did 2 studies. One of them I still analyzing data, and 1 study is still to go this autumn. So in the first study, you can read about it already in a paper that was published in a People's Journal. But basically, I gave the games to 7 musicians and asked them to play the games with no instructions, and then I asked them what they did. So I get to this table of the strategies, which I call game controls. That's what they did to interact with the feedback, and the pluses here indicate for which games those strategies were effective, and for which games the minuses indicate were not effective. The main conclusion from here is that one strategy, which is not a strategy but a state that happens to you when your thoughts get out of control, basically this always had a bad effect over all games. On the contrary, the state described as flow with the game. This like when no other thoughts are in your mind, you just focus on the sound, your mind is empty, you have an unwitting concentration. So this strategy in eyes of the subject had good power over all the games. So I think I don't have time to explain more, so I will just conclude now. I'm now doing a quantitative analysis of the signal of the game performances, and I kind of concluded from the next study that for some games it works, and for some games it doesn't. So far, maybe you see this game really had no statistical effect at all. That the feedback was coming to you, you weren't really statistically significantly able to modify your EEG. But in the other 2 games, or 3, it was good, it worked. So for the next step, I have to put together in mixed methods analysis the strategies people used and see if it had effect over the game performance. And I designed this next study for it. You can see here that I will offer to people 3 strategies for each game, and they will play at each session the game 3 times using 3 different strategies. I will do maybe 5 sessions with 20 subjects, and then I will see if some strategies were more effective than the others. Okay, and I think the main outcome of my dissertation will be a series of programs that I'm designing for the neurofeedback, and that will allow kind of very thorough and free and customizable way for next researchers in the area of EEG neurofeedback. So the series of programs will be published under the name Cerebro, like customizable EEG reactive brain orchestrion. Brain orchestrion, it's because all the games there will be sonic. Okay, so thank you for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the conference. And if you have any questions, just feel free to email me. I'm from the Charles University in Prague, and I'm glad to be invited to Budapest conference. Bye-bye.